played Backrooms. Yeah, we're gonna do more. Don't worry.
How was it? Was it fun?
It was fun. That shit was hilarious. The game is goofy as fuck. The bugs and stuff are hilarious too.
Spidey missed every right click. Awesome.
Spidey magic right click.
Back to it.
I'm coming to site. Come to site. Come to site. Come to site.
Yeah, our team's getting modern right now.
That's pretty low.
Okay, I stalled for so long though.
Yeah, I was busy.
I was hoping someone else was killing while we were doing that, but it's all good. I tried Blade. I just tried Blade, went 2 and 8. You got it? Yo.
That's crazy.
It's on. You gotta study the gun before you can study the blade. Just stupid as that sounds. Oh, they got shredded. You gotta know how to use the fucking gun first before you can just play blade.
W.
Just want to gift you a sub for your birthday. It's not your birthday.
What do you mean? What if it is?
Cap.
Please, bro. It's my birthday. I'm coming back. Can I get heals on work? Awesome.
Our death has been dead for a while.
Yeah.
I just need somebody diving with me. Oh shit, you canceled his ult. Nice.
Did you earn that?
Pretty low.
Yo, I'm going crazy. I'm canceling ults left and right.
Cancel magics?
Yeah. My kills are like right out of it. It's like better.
Wait, you really walk? Playing so far back, you're not gonna get a kill by playing back like that.
Son,
you are crazy
yo.
You are.
Can we get a grip? Yo, what the
I
fuck?
didn't expect that.
No, you're good.
Why would you do that anyway? There's only like 2 alive.
Fuck Spider-Man.
Killed himself because of the aura loss.
I mean, true.
They still got running around when you're starting out. There's a lot of shit going on.
We see magic.
You just gotta play more, get more reps in, honestly.
Wait. We back up. Back up. Look at the door. Magic one.
It's Iron Fist, bro. Fuck.
We have Jubilee ult. How are we not? Like, how do you?
Look at this dude, bro. What is that tracking? Yo, this character's brain dead. What is that tracking? Oh, hell no.
They're stalling me out.
And y'all say my character is the Scarlet Witch of Dive. I have to aim. These iron. You don't have to aim on Iron Fist.
I think our Jubilee's throwing, by the way.
Probably.
Hey,
It's not like not a free one.
This game is like so free.
Oh, you're fucking crazy.
Counter point. Just see.
I'm getting chased so hard by this Iron Fist. Oh my god, bro. What the fuck is happening this match? This is so weird. This is such a cursed match. Blade cosplay 1. Not now.
No. Just 8B while I was fucking comboing someone. Thor. Nice. They have TP.
Oh, great.
Leave her. She's exiled. Let's fight.
W.
Strange.
Got him.
Nice. Just fire.
My brain dead ass still hitting him. Oh yeah, exile his ass. Yup.
Nice. I got up my sense on this character.
Use a different sense for every character?
Not every character, just like BP, all the melee characters I run higher.
I don't use a different sense on different characters.
On my side.
This team up seems kind of ass though.
Get ready.
What's the next sub goal? Isn't it Dark Souls?
So you fight babs on the streets.
Sub
You never played the original?
No, it was Dark Souls 3. I played the original.
Tried, but
One was Dark Souls 3.
one of the perks of having rock hard
I'm also
skins.
the 20k. What the fuck would I need all that? I don't know.
I know someone uses 16k DPI.
This new monster music can go up that high as well.
4, 3, 2.
Actually, I think this monster can go higher than that, but I don't. Why the fuck would you ever need that high?
I don't know.
This is
There's
one
a guy in
time
college that I played with on my team. His name was Mambo Man. He was like rank 4 Zarya and he used 16k DPI.
I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
I have a spray on me, dude.
No, you're good.
They're down one, walk up.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture.
Play behind.
He's one.
Try and move in.
Yeah.
Are we gonna take the point? Wait, we gotta do it now. We're down one
Back
leg.
at the left.
We're doing now. We're cooked.
Spidey.
Yeah, I'm Bruce right now.
This Iron Fist is on my dick. Oh my god. Yo! Jesus Christ, bro. He won't leave me alone.
When Triple E just never pings anything when anyone is on that.
It's okay. It's fine. We got him playing again, so that's a W.
No, it's not okay.
Nope.
I mean, if you want to scan it, throw.
It's not okay. I want to play the game.
That's fine. Just let me know. I can do it for you.
You can do it for me. You can throw for me.
I can heal for you. Whoa, what is this gaslight technique?
Wait. Oh, I thought
What's
music
going on?
Bro, I have music playing. Oh my god.
Is she okay?
Spuddy hats.
Okay, I got everyone. Don't even trip.
Throw me in.
Oh, son, this game is not good.
Hop out.
No, like Jubilee. Ow.
It's fine. We're doing okay.
No, you are a dumbass.
Why you say fuck me for?
No. Not you. Or fucking Jubilee. You're the go, Halls. Don't even trip. Jubilee, you are done with your crosshair looking ass flower, bro. Get the fuck out of the game, bro. Uninstall, please.
Wait, Jill.
Twice now. No. Hope. Shut your mouth.
What you say fuck me for? Lock in, lock in. We got this.
Gotta know he's not locked.
Is Iron Fist gonna look for me and just run at me or what? Oh, he didn't.
Like, this fucking... The worst support I think I've had in GM today.
Fucking tracking, bro.
Wow.
This girl's mental is so ass.
Just try her. You ticked off the wrong Slayer.
Nowhere yet. Going to overtime.
Yeah, Jubilee is ass. But like,
Slice and dice.
I'm on point.
I mean, I'm coming the long way.
I'm dead.
Maybe I don't play Hulk. Like we have Thing and they're fucking frying our backline. Like,
It makes no sense.
you think you wanna? I think we just need to peel more.
Down is always on.
I think it should be peeling this up, so.
What was that?
Wait, this mouse can go up to 50k.
If possible.
This mouse can
like
go up
Rogan
to
would do that.
50k sends, chat.
30
Yeah.
seconds before you attack.
Yeah, I'm not putting it that high. Yeah, fuck that. Why would you ever need to play on 50k? 50k is crazy. What sends you play? I play on 50k. What?
Well, I try my best. My skin may be made of rock.
Why does my rock have more kills than my cat?
4,
I'm cooked.
3, 2,
Let him cook.
all you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm fucking super. Yeah, I'm. What is it? Goku Black.
Mother Aura.
You fucking
How did
retarded
you
and
die?
that's life. Please.
Whoa! 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 I'm streaming on TikTok. Yo!
So, I hope you
Whoa!
die.
Yo! Wait. Chill.
In game. Chill. Minecraft.
You're fucking useless. Oh my god. No.
Chill.
Yo, what is this girl got tempered? This girl got a temper. Jesus.
Here, look, Jeff.
Wow, if only I got healed.
Yo, I'm live on TikTok, bro. Why is she saying this?
Brother. Not for long.
Holy fuck, we need to get out of this match quick.
I'm gonna fucking
Dude, it's her mental is getting worse and worse, bro. We gotta fucking win this or something quick. Spider-Man's dead. Walk up. My ABA go. Oh, you do recognize me. I knew this motherfucker was targeting my ass. I knew you recognized me the way you was targeting me. That's not normal.
Wait, hold on. I can try this.
Can't keep me down for long.
Wait, W, he's dead. Go! Where's high five?
Oh, I'm not getting healed. Like I'm getting focused like crazy because the enemy team recognizes me and I'm not getting healed, so I'm just dying off cooldown.
Burn the ult.
That shit is not getting burnt.
I'm getting fucking fried.
I was looking for one of these.
Can we touch?
I almost one clip that guy well.
Nowhere yet. Going
I need a fucking heal. Yo, you guys have got to come up here and heal us, please. For the love of God, stop being scared. Holy fuck, bro. We're trying to touch and you guys are sitting behind a wall.
Yeah.
Like, what is these healers are horrendous.
It's a support div.
This is horrendous. Like, what?
There's just no healing.
Like, we're on site touching because the timer's about to run out and they're sitting behind the thing. You guys have got to walk up. Like, Jesus Christ, there's a fight going on. Come play the game with us.
Yeah. This game was not fucking real. No, I demoted. Damn.
Damn.
64?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, shit.
It's even negative.
Yeah, so that's what happens. You rank up, you're finally up, and they say, what if?
They
Take
say,
that away.
what if?
We're going crazy today, too. We won every game, actually. We were 4-0.
Until,
then we ranked up, and they said,
let's bring this back a little.
this guy, she...
Yo, she's a crash out. Actual crash out. Like, I don't know, bro. She was tweaking the fuck out.
Like, I just don't know what happened. Where did we
I
go
don't
wrong?
know. She's a crash out, though. That's all I know.
The Jubilee was, like, doing okay, too. And then she just started going off, so the Jubilee started instinct. She, like, ulted in spawn.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe I should've gone
Absolute
dive.
crash out.
Hell, what the fuck? Don't want to end there. All right, one more. We'll do one more.
More,
Get it,
okay.
we can on that.
Her name is Loki's Fat Rooster, so yeah, I'm not surprised.
Fucking crazy.
Holy shit. That shit's wild. Yo, she's an absolute crash out. Like, that shit is not okay.
It like progressively got worse.
It got
and then
worse
I'm
and
sitting there like,
worse.
why you say fuck me for? I'm trying to do damage and control, and she say, yo, Hulk, shut the fuck up.
And then next round, she just tells him to off himself. Like, what? I didn't know healing was that deep.